Hello everyone, welcome to our presentation on Chapter 15, Formation and Performance of Sales and Lease Contracts. Well, I think we're finally finished with contracts with this presentation. And again, we're talking about Chapter 15, but I want you to note that you only need to read your book through Learning Objective 15-5. So read all of that learning objective, but you don't need to go on to the section with regard to title. I was looking for it here. Here it is. So again, when you get to title, you can stop. You don't need to read that section. So, laws that govern sales contracts. Those laws are the common law, the Uniform Commercial Code, which we're going to be talking about, state statutory law, but generally not federal law. So again, laws governing sales contracts were concerned with common law, the UCC, and state statutory law. So a little bit about the Uniform Commercial Code. We've talked a little bit about it already in this class. It was created in 1952. It's been adopted by all 50 states, but Louisiana has only adopted some portions. It was created to create consistency in interstate commerce. It's divided into articles. And I still like this definition that we've read before from the Library of Congress. It says the UCC is a collection of proposed model laws drafted by the American Law Institute and the National Conference of Commissioners on Uniform State Laws that are meant to serve as a guide for state legislatures when they draft statutes involving commercial contracts and related dealings. So I like that. It's a collection of proposed model laws that serve as a guide for state legislatures. So in order to make sure you know what the law is, yes, you can look at the Uniform Commercial Code, but to be 100% sure what the law is in the state that you're in is you need to look at your state law. So here's an example of Ohio. Ohio has adopted the Uniform Commercial Code Article 2 on sales. And so you can see, and we've looked at things like this before, you can see the reference to the Ohio Revised Code section, section 1302, and actually it's better to go down. Let's look at section 1302.02. You can see the parallel passage in the UCC is UCC 2-102. So this section of the Ohio Revised Code has adopted the section known as UCC 2-102. Now, as we said, the UCC is divided up into articles, and so you can see the various articles here. We're mostly concerned about Article 2 with regard to sales and Article 2A with regard to leases. Let's talk about a very important definition under the UCC, and that's with regard to goods. So Article 2 of the UCC deals with goods, so it's important to know what those goods are. Now here's a definition from the Ohio Revised Code. Goods are, quote, all things, including specially manufactured goods, which are movable at the time of identification. Movable at the time of identification to the contract for sale, other than the money in which the price is to be paid. Goods also includes the unborn young of animals and growing crops and other identified things attached to realty. So corporate stocks, copyrights, those are not tangible, those are not goods. Real estate, it's not movable, so real estate is not goods. But as you can see from this definition, growing crops are goods. Sometimes contracts are a mixture of goods and services. So the goods are tangible, the services are intangible. When you have that mixed sale, if the goods are the main portion of the sale, then Article 2 of the UCC controls. Let's talk about merchants, and I believe we have mentioned merchants in the past. Merchants are a special classification of a buyer or a seller. So the UCC has provisions that are just for merchants, or they provide greater duties for merchants. And why is that? Because merchants are sophisticated. They can watch out for themselves. They know what they're doing. This is what they do. And real quick, Article 2A of the UCC concerns the lease of goods. So if I'm leasing a car, the owner of the car, the dealership, is the lessor, and I am taking temporary possession of the vehicle, I am the lessee. Gap fillers. So if there's certain gaps in a contract covered by the UCC, that will not make the agreement unenforceable. The UCC will supply what is called gap fillers. You can see from this table from the book, if the price term is left open, then under the UCC, a reasonable price is supplied at the time of delivery. If you don't have a payment term, well then payment will be due at the time and place at which the buyer is to receive the goods. Don't have information regarding delivery, then the place of delivery is the seller's place of business. So you can see there that the UCC is filling in the gap of the contract. One thing it can't fill in, though, is quantity. Courts don't have the ability to fill in your quantity number. That must be in the contract. Let's talk about firm offers, and here we're talking about merchants. So merchants make firm offers, and the requirements are that the offer needs to be in writing, and then the offer gives assurances that it will be held open for up to 3 months. And if that time period isn't stated, it's assumed to be 3 months. And compare that with what we've talked about before with regard to an option contract. So here we're talking about merchants, but with regard to an option contract, remember, consideration was required to keep that offer open for a certain amount of time. So here's the Ohio Revised Code section on firm offers. Let's read this together. This is from UCC 2-205, but it's section 1302.08 of the Ohio Revised Code. An offer by a merchant to buy or sell goods in a signed writing, which by its terms gives assurance that it'll be held open, is not revocable for lack of consideration during the time stated, or if no time is stated for a reasonable time, but in no event may such period of irrevocability, hard word to pronounce, exceed 3 months. But any such term of assurance on a form supplied by the offeree must be separately signed by the offeree. So there, again, the idea here is that a firm offer does not need to have consideration. Let's talk about acceptances under the UCC. Again, this is from the Ohio Revised Code, section 1302.10. A definite and seasonable expression of acceptance or a written confirmation that is sent within a reasonable time operates as an acceptance, even though it states terms additional or different from those offered or agreed upon, unless acceptance is expressly made conditional on assent to the additional or different terms. Remember we talked about that mirror image rule, where the acceptance needed to mirror the offer? Not so with goods under the UCC. Okay, so here an acceptance, even if it states additional terms or terms that are different from those offered, it still can operate as a valid acceptance, unless acceptance is expressly made conditional on assent to those additional or different terms. Okay, now B, let's go down to that highlighted section. Between merchants, okay, now these are the sophisticated buyers and sellers. Between merchants, the terms become part of the contract unless one of the following applies. The offer expressly limits acceptance to the terms of the offer. They materially alter it, or notification of objection to them has already been given or is given within a reasonable time after notice of them is received. So here's the section laid out for us. A definite and seasonable expression of acceptance or a written confirmation that is sent within a reasonable time operates as an acceptance, even though it states terms additional or different from those offered or agreed upon, unless acceptance is expressly made conditional on assent to the additional or different terms. So if I accept your offer, in other words, I can say, I accept your offer, but you must accept my additional terms or we don't have a contract. That is no acceptance. That's what it's talking about there, unless acceptance is expressly made conditional on assent to the additional or different terms. So again, if I say I accept your offer, but then I also say you must accept my additional terms or we don't have a contract, that is not acceptance. So let's say I don't make my acceptance conditioned on you accepting my additional terms. Then you can see B there, the additional terms are to be construed as proposals for addition to the contract. But now we're going to talk about merchants, or sophisticated buyers and sellers. Between merchants, the terms become part of the contract unless one of the following applies. So that first one, the offer expressly limits acceptance to the terms of the offer. So in other words, in my offer, I say we don't have a contract unless you agree to the terms in my offer. Or B, they materially alter it. The terms in your acceptance just materially alter the terms contained in my offer. Or 3, notification of objection to them has already been given or is given within a reasonable time after notice of them is received. Here's one way this might work. So for example, I have seen your terms from previous dealings and I will not be accepting those terms. Or I just saw your terms in your acceptance and they are unacceptable. Again, we've talked about contracts that need to be in writing. So under the UCC, this should sound familiar to you. Under the UCC, contracts for the sale of goods for $500 or more must be in writing. And then also under the UCC, lease agreements for goods that require total payments of $1,000 or more must be in writing. Well, that concludes a rather short presentation on sales and lease contracts. Thanks for your attention, and we'll see you next time.